Ever since lockdown started, Invisalign has become a hugely popular option for adults who want their teeth straightened without the whole teenage tooth bling look. These days, there's a lot of pressure to have a perfect set of teeth, but the truth is, a lot of us might not need teeth straightened at all. People have been trying to straighten their teeth for thousands of years. And I mean with literal braces in the case of ancient Egypt, which is honestly pretty impressive. We haven't really been able to do this super effectively until the last century, but in the 70s, everything changed. Innovations in stainless steel and dental adhesive made it possible to use metal wiring to pull teeth together with relatively less damage, pain, and cost than ever before. Since then, braces have become an almost normative human experience for the North American teen. This isn't purely for cosmetic reasons either, although that's definitely a huge part. Crooked teeth can make eating uncomfortable or even painful, affect how you speak, cause headaches, and they're even harder to properly clean. Overall, misaligned teeth can lead to greater risk of dental problems down the road. But of course, they're also conspicuous as hell and awkward to eat with. And if we're concerned about cleaning crooked teeth, everything is 10 times harder with those awful metal studs poking out everywhere. It's hard enough to remember to floss, let alone when you have to do that weird loopy thing with the thread. It's overall not a fun couple of years. I still have to do the loopy thing with the thread because I have a retainer, which I'm not stoked about, but it's here and it's keeping my teeth straight, so. Then, during the 90s, a Stanford student basically found a way to use a series of plastic retainers to take over the entire tooth straightening process. Invisalign was founded in 1997, and by 2001, 75% of orthodontists in North America were trained in the procedure. It took almost a full 2 decades to get to this point, but today Invisalign is one of the most popular orthodontic procedures and pumps out 750,000 aligners every single day, making it the largest 3D printing business in the world. At first, many orthodontists were a bit skeptical of the whole thing, seeing as Invisalign was invented by someone with zero dentistry know-how. But a lot of patients were super into the idea. The appeal is obvious. You can get your teeth straight without anyone even really noticing that it's happening. Whoa! And often in less time too, which I'm a little jealous of because scar tissue, for real. Plus, you can take your aligners out whenever and eat all the toffee you want without ripping a bracket. I had braces as a teenager and I missed popcorn so much. I also used to, when my braces got tightened, because it would hurt so much, I wouldn't be able to chew on much. So I would take potato chips and like crush them up into a powder and just... There's only a few little snags. If you are worried about braces being conspicuous, remember that you have to remove your aligners to eat, which is going to draw some attention. And then you're supposed to brush your teeth every single time you eat. So maybe not the best option for snackers or people who are frequently on the go. Then of course, there's the reality that Invisalign just can't do everything that braces can do. Invisalign puts a ton into research and development and has made massive strides in terms of the variety of cases they can treat. But for the time being, braces still ultimately have the potential to achieve a better result and can correct more issues than Invisalign can. For many people, they're going to be the only option between the two. And get this, depending on your orthodontist and the complexity of your teeth situation, Invisalign could end up costing you more than braces, which are already pretty expensive to begin with, even though they're just pieces of 3D printed plastic. I know it's specialized plastic, but the reality is there's a lot going on behind the scenes to make that price tag that's got nothing to do with your oral health. The thing is, Invisalign can actually be easier for orthodontists than braces. The procedure goes something like this. They start by digitally mapping the patient's mouth to create a 3D image. With the help of algorithms and AI, they're able to manipulate this map into the desired shape. They go back and forth with Invisalign until both parties agree on a configuration that works. And then Invisalign goes ahead and makes a series of aligners that get closer and closer to the end goal. The orthodontist will then call you back into the office, maybe put some tooth-colored attachments onto your teeth, or what have you. And the rest is mostly up to you. Compared to braces, that's a lot more hands-off. Now don't get me wrong, the orthodontist role is still important, but they don't need to worry about adjusting, tightening, and possibly replacing your braces all the time. Invisalign checkups can be pretty brief and are there to basically make sure your aligners are fitting and working well. In fact, we found an orthodontic coach that argued you really only need 3 in-person appointments during the course of treatment, and the rest can be done with quick Zoom check-ins. These days, it's like, what can't you do on Zoom? If done right, you can imagine that easily resulting in less overhead costs compared to braces. However, there's the upfront cost to consider, which can be quite high. And there remains this lingering impulse to charge a bit more for Invisalign. Thankfully, some practitioners are catching on to the long-term savings potential and charging a more comparable fee, but it's something to look out for. You have to remember that Invisalign is a pretty well-established monopoly at this point. In some ways, this monopoly is deserved. They've done the hard work, spent decades and millions upon millions on research and development, and currently have what they describe as the largest orthodontic database in the world. They're going to have better algorithms than anyone else and more experience dealing with a wider variety of cases than anyone else. They're pretty confident that nobody's catching up anytime soon, which means they're able to charge orthodontists a lot more than they could if there were any seriously competing companies. In fact, they've been the target of lawsuits accusing them of using underhanded tactics to maintain their monopoly and overcharge consumers. They attempt to ease the pain of purchase a little by using a ranking system. Did you know that dentists and orthodontists get bigger and bigger discounts on aligners the more they sell? There's nothing inherently wrong with that, and it doesn't force dentists to be pushy about anything. But it's good to be aware that these practitioners are incentivized to sell a lot of people on this product. If you don't already have perfect teeth, you're a potential candidate for Invisalign. That doesn't mean you need them or that you'd experience any noticeable health benefits from them, but that might not stop your dentist from casually bringing it up. And therein lies the real concern we have with orthodontics in general, but especially with Invisalign. It can be really hard to determine if you actually need these treatments. The people we trust to advise us on them need to make a living, and sometimes we don't know just how much that impulse is affecting said advice. The reality is that with orthodontics, there's an extremely blurry line between health and cosmetics, and there's not really a consensus on where that line lies.
Weird.
One periodontist even told Vice that unless you have severe tooth crowding, the primary reason for orthodontics is really just cosmetic. Not everyone agrees with that sentiment, but it does fit pretty well with the advertising we've seen for these procedures. Remember that Invisalign got its footing by advertising directly to lay people. They've had to put an insane amount of money into advertising over the years to convince us that this is what we need. And how do they do this? Not by appealing to our desire to be healthy, but by targeting our insecurities about our smile. Most of their ads center around this. Look at these. Get a smile worth smiling about. Get a smile worth millions of fans. The message basically is, your smile sucks, pay a few $1,000s, and we can fix that. This certainly doesn't inspire self-acceptance. On top of that, these days we're bombarded with images of perfectly white, perfectly straight teeth everywhere. You practically can't be a Hollywood star without dental veneers. And even though that level of bright isn't at all natural, it's easy to internalize this sense that you also need perfect teeth to smile confidently, and Invisalign really feeds into this. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not opposed to trying to look your best if that's what you want, especially when there are likely health benefits involved. What I don't like is people feeling pressured to go through with these expensive and unpleasant treatments just because everyone else is doing it or because advertisers and dominant culture make them feel like crap about how they look. Especially when there's such a disparity when it comes to insurance plans and what they cover. So at the end of the day, you got people with money with perfect teeth. The reality is a lot of us don't have crooked enough teeth to urgently require intervention, especially if we're diligent about things like keeping them clean and avoiding sugary soda. One estimate is that only about 45% of children actually need braces to correct functional problems. That's less than half, and the rest is about addressing more minor concerns. And just so you know, your smile is beautiful the way it is, whether or not you have straight teeth or any teeth at all. In the end, you might not need either, but the extra funny thing about all of this, as we sit here pondering to Invisalign or not to Invisalign, there's this whole other question out there that nobody really brings up. Why our teeth are so fucked up to begin with. Ultimately, braces and Invisalign are both just band-aids to a problem, but there's this whole other perspective of functional dentistry that takes a totally different approach. Functional dentists believe that we can get at the root cause of crooked teeth by actually changing the shape of the mouth itself to create more space. They reason that if our ancient pre-agricultural ancestors had perfect teeth, there's something about our modern lifestyle that might be causing the orthodontic epidemic we're experiencing today. They say that if you get to the root, a whole host of problems solve themselves. Difficulty eating, breathing, sleeping, even immune issues. This could involve simple changes like feeding our kids tougher foods to stimulate growth of the jaw and prevent crowded teeth to begin with. Even if these dentists are 100% on with their claims, this approach will take ages to gain mainstream attention, if even just because there's so much money in orthodontics. The moral of the story is that just because your teeth are a bit crooked doesn't mean you need braces or Invisalign. That's a decision you'll need to make with your dentist, making sure to ask questions about health benefits and risks. And remember, it's totally fair to ask for a second opinion if something doesn't feel quite right. Keep in mind that the vast majority of people these days have crooked teeth without treatment. According to Scientific American, 9 in 10 people have teeth that are at least slightly misaligned or maloccluded. So it's not like you're an anomaly or somehow inferior to everyone if your teeth aren't perfectly aligned. Whatever you do, just maybe avoid a DIY or direct-to-consumer option. I know with these prices it can be tempting, but these are your teeth we're talking about. You don't want to start moving them around yourself without professional supervision. That could go all kinds of wrong. But you won't go wrong liking this video and subscribing to this channel, because we're gonna keep delving into new health subjects. And if you've got ideas for us, throw them down in the comments. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to catching you in the next video.